Imagine your greatest possession, something so valuable you would do anything to protect it or preserve it. You would fear for it to be eyed by a thief or stolen away. Time's up. What did you imagine? A cell phone, a car, some jewelry maybe. Your true greatest possession is your health. It's more valuable than anything else we could have thought of. So we have to do everything in our power to protect it and preserve it and prevent it from being stolen. Hi, I'm Darshi Shah, a certified nutritional therapist and health coach. I'm going to be talking to you about a health threat that's relatively unknown. It's sneaky, subtle, and often life-threatening. I don't want to bring you doom and gloom, but I'm also going to highlight a very powerful ally at your side. Of course, the health threat, you know, it's autoimmunity. I gave it up. It's not just one disease, but a family of over 150 diseases. It occurs when our immune system attacks our own cells, tissues, and organs. Our immune system is supposed to protect our body from other threats, but in these disorders, it actually becomes the attacker. Left untreated, it continues to create damage until manifesting into chronic illness or an autoimmune disease. Some common ones that you may know are rheumatoid arthritis, which is felt in the joints, celiac or Crohn's disease in the digestive system, type 1 diabetes in the pancreas, Graves' or Hashimoto's in the thyroid, and multiple sclerosis in the brain and nervous system, and also skin disorders such as psoriasis. Autoimmunity is becoming somewhat of an epidemic, and I'll tell you why. The entire collection of autoimmune complications is the number 2 cause of chronic illness and the 3rd highest incidence of US deaths. According to the AARDA, cancer affects up to 9 million Americans, heart disease up to 22 million, and autoimmunity over 50 million Americans. That's 1 in 6 people. And more than 75% of autoimmune sufferers are women. Autoimmunity costs the US $100 billion in direct healthcare costs every year. For a frame of comparison, all cancers cost us $150 billion annually in direct healthcare costs annually. The costs are relatively the same, but autoimmunity is an expensive problem for sufferers and our nation. As a health and nutrition coach, I often hear people normalizing these disorders. I hear, everybody's got diabetes. That doesn't mean we're skipping desserts. Or, I'm supposed to change my diet and lifestyle? No, thank you. Isn't there a pill I can take instead? I get it. No judgments. I actually felt the same way once. You see, I am one of these Americans that's experienced autoimmunity, but I'm also in a rare group that has achieved remission from it, drug-free. How did I do that exactly? My story goes back a decade. My family was temporarily living overseas for work reasons, and while I was abroad, I began experiencing symptoms that I couldn't resolve. It started with fatigue, like coming down with a flu, only I didn't get the flu, I just got more tired. Then, increasing or more frequent GI symptoms snuck in, bloating, gas, diarrhea, constipation. And it wasn't so uncommon over there, so I didn't originally think that it was going to be an issue initially. And then my clothes became baggy. So that meant I was losing weight. Simultaneously with the weight loss, I was actually getting very weak over time. So I didn't connect all the dots, the weakness and the weight loss and everything together at the time, because here, as I'm presenting it, it's becoming more clear that there was a problem. But in real life, it's more of a subtle thing. So if you're looking for signs yourself or you know somebody else that's looking, it's a collection of really subtle things. After 18 months of all of these things going on, I realized I was in trouble. I had lost 50 pounds. My hair was coming out in clumps. And I was exhausted, basically in bed, just watching life pass by. I had consulted 7 different doctors across 4 different countries just to try to get an idea, and I didn't get a single diagnosis from all that. My medical test actually didn't indicate anything out of the norm. So I was left in this situation kind of wondering what I was going to do about it. With all of these medical tests and doctors that came back and said, we're not sure exactly what's wrong with you, I knew that something was wrong because something had changed. Something was actually stealing my life. I never realized that that something was my own body until my doctor explained autoimmunity. I got scared because nobody knew how to stop this, and I was afraid that I was actually going to die from this. But I wasn't ready for defeat. Not like that, not without trying other things. So I became ready to actually explore new ideas, leaving no stone unturned. And I became ready to change lifelong habits just to try to get my health back again. And I dreamed of having a cure. But for autoimmunity, there is no cure. Left untreated, it can actually increase risks of early death. So it's important to try to get on some protocol that helps. And for some people, in some cases, medication can help. But not for me, because the medication didn't work for me. So I had to actually go out and research and try to find a different option that I could use that would work. My investigation led to researching Western science, reviewing Eastern wisdom, and experimenting on myself. I learned about causal factors, a mix of 3 main components: genetics, environment, and leaky gut, which is a fault in digestion. We're all born with a fixed set of genetic predispositions. We can't change them. But if we had a gene for a particular condition, it doesn't mean we'd automatically get it. It just means we have an increased risk compared to others. We each have a different mix of environmental vulnerabilities in our lives. This includes pathogens, pollutants, and contaminants in our air, food, water, and even personal products. Our food is a product of our environment, and it comes into contact with our genetic processes in the gut. So you can say our gut is actually the meeting place of our genetics and our environment. In the gut, food particles are released into the bloodstream after being digested. With leaky gut, some undigested food particles are released into the bloodstream or leaked, and that's not normal. It can cause an immune response. I refer to that immune response as a search and destroy mission. For some people, it doesn't cause much damage. They bounce back quickly. They don't even realize that there was ever a problem. That makes me jealous because other people like me, this search and destroy mission creates chronic inflammation and over time, food sensitivities. They're not urgently life-threatening like food allergies are, but they still gradually compromise the immune system. It can look and feel like chronic illness. Autoimmune sufferers usually ask this question, why me? Or how did I get picked for this? And what you should know is that these diseases don't happen overnight, like an on-off light switch. Instead, the causal factors come together over time, increasing risks, more like a dimmer switch. So the more causal factors, the higher your risks and the higher that dimmer switch. The best way to dim that switch of autoimmunity is to improve what we can control. We know we can't control our genes. We can manipulate a little of our environment, but our main control point is improving leaky gut. So how do we know we have this, and how do we ultimately achieve great health? That's what we all want. So information is power, and the best way is to be informed. So the very powerful ally, which I mentioned earlier, is the AIM protocol, and it's a process that will allow us to collect information and be more informed. So before we make any changes to diet or lifestyle, it's important to contact a qualified medical practitioner to guide you on this journey to wellness. A is to assess and tune into the body. What's really happening? What are the subtle signs? Have you felt more fatigue lately? Are you always bloated when you eat? These are signs, and there's a bunch of others. Brain fog, trouble focusing, GI issues, anxiety, mood swings. So if you have one or more of these subtle signs, you want to check with the doctor first to make sure that there's nothing urgent or serious going on. And then if not, and if you still want, you can go on to the next step. The next step is to identify food sensitivities and leaky gut through blood tests. So these are not routine tests done during a physical. These are specialized ones that are sought out to dim that switch of autoimmunity. Technology's finally brought us answers now to identify some of these things even before disease sets in, making this an excellent preventative tool. So your practitioner can actually guide you on a jump starting of your health with the test results. So then M is for manage your microbiome. Our microbiome is the diverse gut environment where we have bacteria living, some of them looking like Cheetos. So it turns out that the foods that we eat and the stress that we carry impacts the health of these tiny microbes, and these tiny microbes actually impact your immune system. So it behooves us to go ahead and try to take care of, the bacteria. So some of the things that I did to positively impact my microbiome was to focus on a plant-based diet, avoid processed foods and sugars. I know that's going to be real popular. And add in fermented foods and drinks, sauerkraut, kombucha. Avoid supplement with varying probiotics, prebiotics, and symbiotics, and introduce stress-relieving techniques like meditation or pranayama, which is a yoga that's focused on breath control. These drivers were very good for me, and even though I love my sweets, my Mountain Dew and peanut M&Ms, I don't do that anymore. Those days are long gone. Instead, I treat myself to natural superfood smoothies, which look and taste decadent. So when my gut friends are happy, I'm happy. And I wouldn't be where I am today without my friends, all 100 trillion of them. So I hope that you were able to think about or consider prioritizing your gut bacteria, the health of your gut bacteria, so it can actually work for your health. And remember to aim to be informed. As for me, in the end of my story, I discovered food sensitivities, and that was my culprit, gluten and dairy. After my nutritious recovery plan, then I was able to reclaim my health and find remission. So maybe your immune system's running great, or maybe it's on a search and destroy mission. Don't you want to see what you look like running at peak immunity? Find out. The world awaits the best you. Thank you.